Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Pathways to God and Significance. My name is Michael Venema. For some time, I've been wanting to do a short video on COVID-19 and how people respond not only to the pandemic, but also to all the attempts to deal with the pandemic. So this video is called Christ, Freedom, and COVID-19. Now recently, people, by no means all people, but certainly a very large proportion of people around the planet celebrated the birth of Jesus Christ. This birth took place roughly 2,000 years ago. And during his adult years, Jesus went public with his teachings. These teachings were thoroughly Jewish, just as Jesus himself was Jewish. Now, one of the controversies of Jesus' time, a controversy among his people, one of those controversies centered around the question of how to respond to the ruling authorities. The Jewish people of the day, living as they did in and around Israel, had to endure an orderly but brutal rule of their Roman occupiers. A succession of Caesars, the emperors of Rome, increasingly demanded to be honored as gods. Further, the Roman regime taxed the Jewish people to the brink of exhaustion. And as a result, Jewish zealots were always near at hand, looking for a way to provoke the next uprising. So it's in this context that Jesus makes a remarkable statement. He said, "Give to Caesar what is owed to Caesar, and to God what is God's." He said this in response to a pointed question. Someone asked him, "Should we pay taxes to Caesar?" Now, this was a trick question posed by Jesus' enemies in order to trap him. If he'd responded with a simple answer one way or another, he would have been in trouble. Had he come out in favor of withholding taxes, his enemies would have used this against him by provoking the occupying authorities to arrest Jesus. On the other hand, had he spoken out in favor of paying taxes, not withholding them, but paying taxes, he would have been seen as betraying the deep hopes of his own people. So, Jesus' answer is interesting on a couple of levels. For one thing, he shrewdly avoids the trap set for him. For another, he states a wise and obvious truth. Give to each, God and to the ruling authorities, what is owed to them. It's so interesting to notice that Jesus' words do not give us a quick answer to the question. They force us to consider, to think, and to discern what we ourselves in our time and place owe to the ruling authorities and to God. Now, I think that Jesus' teaching here, it's very short, but if we take it seriously, can bring real benefits. At one end of the benefit spectrum, this teaching is a basis for the rejection of excessive or totalitarian demands of governments, the extreme demands of the German government when it was in the hands of the Nazi Party, and the totalizing policies of Stalinist Russia are off limits on the basis of what Jesus said. Governments may not demand total, unquestioning allegiance. Some things belong to God and not to the ruling authorities. In fact, if we give to government the highest form of allegiance, which rightly belongs to God, all kinds of disasters can come home to roost, as Jordan Peterson and other contemporary philosophers are pointing out. Now, at the other end of the benefit spectrum, this teaching of Jesus to give government its due is a foundation for proper respect for authorities. It strongly implies Jesus strongly implies that there are some things which rightly belong to Caesar. It is important, for example, to stop for traffic lights when they're red. We play with our lives when we ignore the state's demand not to participate in the trade and consumption of illegal substances. So we can see from this that Jesus Christ makes governing authorities responsible to see that their demands on people are not unjust or unreasonable. And Jesus also places responsibility on the individual to behave appropriately towards those authorities. And as I hinted earlier, most interestingly, Jesus leaves us, the readers, with the task of sorting out what it is that we owe to God and to the authorities. This can change from one community to another, or from one period of time to the next. Different jurisdictions have different laws. Why? Well, it's because different communities have different hopes, different necessities, different opportunities. Laws and the shape of our allegiances can be different across time and cultures, while still remaining within the hopeful framework that Christ presented. Now, how might this play out concerning COVID-19 precautions? I don't want to offer a simplistic application of what Jesus said to our current situation, and yet I think that what he said can give us our bearings. On the one hand, there is no need to accept whatever the authorities say about COVID without asking good questions and holding out for sound answers. We ought to be able to ask questions and to, I don't know if demand is too strong of a word, but to ask for good and sound answers to our questions with respect to precautions that are being regulated or imposed or suggested. On the other hand, Jesus' words here do not give an easy warrant for regarding government with suspicion or for embarking on an internet search for videos to support a grand conspiracy theory involving big pharma, government, and media giants. So I want to say this again, that Jesus' words do not give us a lot of support for embarking on whatever we can find to support a large conspiracy theory. I realize that it can be tempting to take that approach. Why is that? It's because increasingly our lives are managed by bureaucracies, government, social engineers, tech giants, and machine-generated algorithms. We may feel that our personal freedoms are receding from our grasp, 1 centimeter at a time. Those are legitimate issues. However, it does seem to me that there is excellent warrant in Jesus' words for supporting the government-backed attempts to deal with COVID-19, and it is not well justified to see those attempts as a grand effort to take away your or my freedoms. See you next time. Thanks again so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and hit the notification bell so that you will know about new videos coming out. See you next time.